Okay, welcome to the second session of today, which is about the power of live linked data to transform. And what we're going to be doing next is hearing from each of the people in the room who have brought with them a proposal for something they'd actually like to discuss in more depth during our two follow-on sessions this morning. Format of that will be, if you've actually got a project you'd like to talk about and share, and you've got some slides you want to present on that, feel free to do that. Or else if that's better displayed through sharing your screen with other participants, that's absolutely fine as well. Or if something you want to do on the whiteboard, that's also completely okay. We do have a slight logistical limitation in the sense that this is the only room where we have a whiteboard available. So if you are in one of the smaller rooms downstairs, that might just have to be on something as elementary as paper and pen. I apologize for what is essentially a conference to talk about technology, but I guess this is our first such get together, so we have to start somewhere.
It's one of the first names.
And my hope is that because it's a very small number of us, and because these are quite intimate gatherings, that won't be too much of a constraint on how you're able to share ideas. So the emphasis is actually on the idea sharing. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about that particular element, or we're going to move on to next?
I actually have a question, or I don't know if it's actually a question, maybe it's just a topic.
Sorry, just to stop you there, Yasha, I'm going to ask for a volunteer from the room just to capture a heading for the topic on the whiteboard. You've just stepped up. Thank you very much. So yeah, if you can give your description as concisely as possible, Yasha, for your topic that you'd like to talk about in this breakout session, please go ahead.
So it's about the analytics that you talk about, like liveness of the data and the history of the data. Sometimes you need historical data to analyze them or just drive some extra information. And if you're keeping the data live, you are losing some bits of information. That's what I want to talk about. And I have some use cases for this in my mind that would be very interesting to both have data live and also like have access to the history of it.
Okay, all right. So it's basically, if I could summarize that.
History of live data.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Very nice.
History of live data. Still or historization. Logbook. Sorry? Log. The log of the. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Backwards time travel.
Yeah. Okay, that's our first topic. Thank you, Yasha.
The security of live data.
Security of live data. Okay, thank you very much, Rose. 4 written suggestions I had in response today. Okay, did you have something you wanted to share?
Yeah, considering what you've just told us, I think I'd like to talk about immutable live data.
Okay.
Because we have some experience building immutable in data set that actually changes.
Okay, right, that sounds like a very interesting paradox. Look forward to hearing about that.
I've got one more that's maybe interesting. That's following links around, as in link data where the links change.
Okay, yeah, I think that's quite closely related to where you asked how data could be both live and linked, with even a contradiction in terms.
I think you labeled that virtual URIs, but I'm still curious what virtual URIs are.
Okay, yeah, let's hope we can put some flesh on those words. Yeah.
Another topic, virtual URIs.
That's the same thing.
Yeah, just
Following data.
Yeah, it would fall under that, yeah.
Well, this is not going to bring me any friends, but I would like to say inferencing.
Okay.
See silence. And you. The atmosphere changed.
So we're all digesting just using.
Who is you really working for?
I think you meant to say composition over inheritance, whatever. Stupid joke.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay.
Right. I also want to take account of other folks who are remote. So I'm aware that you have Ruben on the call and Face as well. So I think Face has actually had to drop off. But Ruben, is there anything in particular you want to explore in greater depth today?
Not particularly. At least I haven't prepared anything myself. I would love to talk a bit about querying, but I will have to leave in like half an hour, so I probably won't get around to that, unfortunately.
I just wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to share anything if you did, but thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. All right. Yours.
2 more things. One is I sent some slides, which I don't know how they would fit here, but it's mainly a use case which we could have as an example when we're discussing things. And I have a few slides on that I can show later.
Okay.
And another thing was digital signatures.
Mm.
That's something that's has to be an or as well.
Does that fit in with security?
Well,
Does that fit in with security?
well,
It
not
fits in
only
with
that, but
security.
yeah, exactly. It also fits in with provenance.
Yeah.
Immutable.
Yeah, yeah, that too. Yeah.
It's almost as though these
So
data
we
were
should-
linked, isn't it?
Yeah.
Arrows to be drawn here then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am afraid you made it a list, not a graph. That was your first mistake.
Well, you can represent a list.
Yeah. In a minute for folks who are remote.
There's a blank notes, right? The 1, 2, 3, 4. If you can prefix them with an underscore.
Oh, yeah. Go on, no. So the use case that yours was proposing, I think that's.
So yeah, that'd be really good.
What is the use case? Shall we make that the title?
Oh,
Do you want Flor to just show your slides?
yes, I can just show them. When I saw the program, I saw topics and then hacking sessions. So I assume I can just come in with an idea and then leave with software at the end of the day.
Good.
Yeah, that's the plan, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, the municipality that I live in has had elections a few months ago, and I became more active in the fraction of one of those groups. And an issue that we come across is that there's just so many documents that we have to read and know about what's going on in even a small municipality. So we have to distribute the work. And so my idea was to build an information system for us. And because I'm familiar with some of the work of this company about getting information from municipalities in the open, which my municipality unfortunately is not connected to yet, but I'm putting pressure on it, trying to get it to work. It's IBAPs. Yeah. So it's just a matter of switching a button, I guess.
It's easy, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea was then to make a linked data system. Why not? If we add it anyway. So pull down all the documents, put them in a big folder, reference them via content addressability, and then keep track of them in linked data and put tags on them saying it's this topic, and then some of the peers who are working with this data will know, this is my topic. I will read this document and put comments on this document so that others can read them. And well, that's basically the whole system already. So it's fairly simple. You'd want full text search for that, but that's out of scope for the linked data part. It's just an add-on. Yeah, so if you can go to the next slide. Yeah, so we want to help our peers in the council know what's going on by dividing the handling of the incoming documents among the group. That's the main functionality. Next slide again. So simple way of stating that is that it's a decentralized CRUD system with history. So we'd like to go back, of course, to see if a file changed or who wrote a comment and when they wrote a comment. The requirements do is sort of touch on a lot of stuff that's on there also, but they also say a few things about data model and only logging, but that comes to immutable in history. So there's a lot of overlap in that slide, but we can save some time by not doing the technical stuff when everybody's with their attention there, and you can discuss that later.
It's already, by the way, sounds like it really aligns nicely with open decision making, because it already has RDF and an append-only log for the data transactions. So there is potential to integrate over here. I'd love to discuss that.
Yeah.
You will get something.
And also, do you know about the news? Well, this is a bit off topic, but there's a new system also for journalists specifically to mine all this data, which is by OpenState being launched now.
Yeah, I've used it. Yeah.
Oh, you've used it already. Yeah, I don't have a login yet, but I mean, if that's tailored to fractions, it's almost the same thing, I guess, because journalists want to browse the data and make notes, and that's what the actual political people want to do as well.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah.
But dive into that.
Yeah, but that's not linked data. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, Jos. That's going to be really interesting use case to explore because it's got practical implications.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 7 topics on the board at the moment. Any additional ones people would like to raise?
I have a pitch which is not a pitch.
Okay,
In case somebody wants to hear more about MELD, I've got a few slides to talk about MELD specifically in a bit more of a computer science orientation. That can be anything from 20 minutes up, or even less, I don't know.
yeah, so we do have some flexibility with regard to the structure of these next 2 sessions. So we can either do them all together, or we could actually integrate our groups downstairs as well. So it means we don't have to converge on just 2 topics. We can expand beyond that.
Sorry for the noise.
Who is MELD?
But MELD is the popular startup that George and I Co-founded.
in the UK.
Yeah. Okay, right. So I think what we need to do next is take a photo of those topics and then get that to the remote participants. All right, folks, change the plan. I'm not going to send you the photo. You're just quickly going to capture those topic headings in fact I'm doing your further link for you on the Zoom.
There's only one use case on there. Are there any other use cases that have been occurring to people?
I think structured documents, I'd like to bring that in as a discussion topic.
Structured documents.
So basically, what we're currently looking at, or at least what I'm looking at right here, is Markdown files, just a big string. But what I'm really interested in is like having more structure inside your documents, kind of like how Notion editors work. So you have like this slash command, and you can put a table in there, then you can put an image, and then a file, and then something interactive. And it warrants a different type of information structure on the back end to facilitate that. I don't think you should use strings and new line delineations there. So that and I've been playing around with that a little bit, and I've already run into some practical problems with doing that in a live data context. So yeah, that's perhaps an interesting one if people would like to discuss it as well.
All right, we'll add that to the list. Okay, right, we have 9 topics in there.
And 9 people.
Yeah.
I was
as well.
Oh, no.
9 people talking to themselves. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe you can try to cluster these topics into like maybe 2 groups that are maybe vaguely similar in context. So I think history and security and immutability of live linked data are actually very technical and related. Well, they kind of all are, by the way. Yeah. No, that's a good idea what I had to cluster these.
I think the 2 topics that I had can be joined together because they lead to one another.
Right.
Yeah, I think security and digital signatures could be merged as well. At least, well, I'm not sure whether you're talking about verifiability or traceability or.
I'm just curious, as I said, I don't have background, so I don't want to talk about it, but I have some questions. So yeah, makes sense to merge it with another topic.
So you also would be okay if we did that and then made the topic both security and provenance, because that would encompass the greater scope we had in mind with digital signatures.
So the security aspect of keeping the system free from intruders is something that we would leave out of scope, I think, because that's very general to any type of IT system.
Okay. We could potentially touch on that because there are some things that are specific to this particular type of data which are worth exploring. Yeah, I think that would be a good way of killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to who can read what, that could be part of it, but then we would add a note on encrypting part of it probably, because I don't see another way of doing that. But maybe somebody else has great ideas.
Okay, it sounds like it also touches on one of your questions earlier on in your room, which is around if you're securing data, how do you share the data and how you actually manage that effectively. So it sounds like we've got a critical mass of people who would be interested in that.
If we want to do grouping, I think that provenance, digital security, immutability, and history are the thing that you could group, because I think those are all.
Yeah, like security and history can actually be related to each other, and provenance and stuff. And I think it makes it similar to blockchains.
The immutability, there is a security link there, but the point that I was going for is not security related. So I'm not sure if we join that.
Actually, yeah.
And also about the security, I think like who has the right access is actually more critical. I think like read, you can just be public with the data, but right access is usually more sensitive. Like this is a big topic on blockchains also.
We seem to have a consensus that discussing history and provenance can be meaningfully combined. We take a different view, however, for the actual security aspect of that.
When it comes to digital signatures and security, on second hand, I do think that, because when you want to merge your data into the set of data that's already there, if you have signed it and there is data in the graph that says somebody who sends a message encrypted with this public key can be merged, then it's signed, and that's the security mechanism at the same time.
And it's also the immutability mechanism in a way, right? Because you can use the hash for content of the change itself to denote what the state was of that resource.
Right. So basically, your data becomes only log with access.
Yeah.
From the people that already have the public key in the log so far.
Right. We need to make sure I've attributed these correctly.
I'm actually kind of impressed with how it deals with
messy live integrations on the same line,
Yeah,
these conflicts.
some fascinating white papers that actually deal with the mechanics behind it.
Previously, I said we talked about the power of live link data to transform master data management. Is a term that I learned from you, okay, which means
Use case? I think that's a use case.
that's use case.
What is master data management?
Yeah, so I didn't know until last week, but it's when you have data in a company, you can have, for instance, the list of prospective customers and the list of people who have a mortgage and the list of people who have a bank account, and then maybe you have a list of product categories that you do marketing for, a list of product categories that you have in the warehouse, and sometimes those sets are not the same within the same company. So you have product codes for the warehouse and you have product codes for sales, and they don't match up. And so maybe with live link data, you can have a connection between your warehouse database and your marketing database that links those two up, and that matches into one master data set. So master data is all the data that is important to the company as opposed to transactional data. So it's your list of products, your list of customers, your list of employees, etc. And master data management is a whole field of consultants getting rich.
Expensive governance for us.
Yeah, so when two companies merge, they have, by definition, two master data sets that need to become one, but they either need to migrate or link. So,
Yeah, thank you.
that's the link.
In the
Yeah.
US, they just don't even know. They just stay separate companies.
Yeah.
We call that integration at the marketing level.
DHL.
That was a great summary. Thank you. Not sure if I could put it that well myself. So, well, we've got a nice round number of 10 topics on the board, some of which are combinable. So it's time to vote, I think, with our dots on the board or the shared document here. What I suggest we do is, if you're interested in one of the combinable sections we've got there, history and provenance and or security stroke digital signatures, you put your vote next to that rather than the original section that's up here. So what I'll do is I'll just indent this to demonstrate that it's included in the combinable section below.
Maybe I understood it wrong, but I thought these combinable sessions, these 4 topics, history, provenance, security, and digital signatures, were the same topic. But maybe I misunderstood them.
I might have misunderstood, so please set me right if I have.
And so I think all of these are very tightly related. If you have like an append-only log and it serves as history, it serves as provenance, you use digital signatures to make it verifiable. That presents a lot of problems. I think I could give like a brief introductory problem of the landscape for these topics. So I'd like to have in a group of people introduce a bit of the problems in that landscape.
All right. How does that sound? Because you guys are both the stakeholders and the contributing.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. You okay with that, Rose?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. All right. Well, let's just do that.
And,
Edit as you see, but very good.
The two topics that I proposed, I think, should also be one session because they are interlinked.
Okay.
Plus, the topic I proposed was not, like, I am just curious about it and I have interested. I don't have things to say, so makes sense to combine.
Okay. Any additional consolidation we need to do?
So how many dots do I get?
We each get 3 dots.
3 dots.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to do that, but that will at least give us a ranking for the sessions. And if we are able to do 2 in the morning, or we break out into smaller groups, then we may actually get through quite a large proportion of these. We'll see how we go.
Where do I put my dots?
Okay, so I
On the
think
whiteboard.
folks in the room, let's use the whiteboard, and then folks who are remote, put your dots in the dock.
So we had like a combined session, and we had one with new sessions that aren't yet on this board, right?
All right, so
Data management.
yeah, master data management is the like that.
I'm just gonna bring master.
Yeah,
3 and 4 is also combined, I think.
it's going to be easier for me to harmonize what the ACD set with the whiteboard than the other way around.
Yeah, let's use level first.
So it's come down to the least flexible resource is the authoritative one. It's actually a great real world experiment in some respects.
The thing is, with point 7, I have an idea to do all the things in one practical system, but nobody's voting for it, so
I'm voting for it.
Right, let's start up the base.
So I have to synchronize them with the live ones.
Yeah, so it's only Yoshari is going to be able to stay with us because Ruben has to leave, unfortunately.
All right, so that should be it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks.
So we have 2 topics with 6 votes and 2 with 5. But one of those with 5 has actually the digital signatures one vote extra, which I don't know where you want to put it.
Okay, fine. Well, in the interest of time, we'll just combine them. It's debatable as to the extent to which they can be, but we need a result. So we have 2 with 6.
I've wanted to build a feature for that and argue for like 7 years and I still haven't gotten around to it.
What do you think?
Like 0 customers have ever even slightly indicated being interested in it. So like yeah, I make democracy tools, I don't have commercial voting, but
So we have 3
technology
topics
push that thing.
with 6 votes.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. That's neat.
there are some online communities that have it. I know that Debian has it for their voting for the board.
yeah, makes a lot of sense, especially when you're talking about picking a person to do something.
Yeah, KDE we've used it a few times.
We used it at the Dutch after, so first we voted with points,
Yeah,
and then we saw that some people would just have ranked the projects with like 8, 9, 10, and probably some people had done like 5, 6, 7, which meant that all the 8 from one person was higher than the 7 from another person, but actually what they meant, it wasn't adjusted for that.
yeah. Everybody was allowed to do a relative ordering, but because of the absolute interpretation of the numbers, things went awry.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also a problem with these weight type voting systems is that you get like an incentive to often give a lot of weight to one person and don't give any other person any weight.
Yeah.
Because you're just optimizing for that. What's even worse is at some point you're going to make a prediction of what you think the outcome is going to be, and that will have a tremendous impact if you're rational on your voting behavior.
And that's what I did, strategic credit. I moved one of my from my own topic because I saw it was going to be a loser, and I moved it to Jos's topic so that we could.
Nice.
And so we should have also have sort of put down what the order was, but you took advantage of there not being a defined order. That's strategic. Very good.
That would vote first. This is why democracy is broken.
Yeah.
Also, this is not a secret ballot, so which made it that much harder.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
Big respect.
But your software fixes all that, right? Good.
No, we don't fix any of these problems, to be honest. I'm ashamed.
I have adjusted the weights and sympathy votes in my internal system already, according to what I just saw here.
Excellent.
I have this Chinese software which is using that.
Well, it's the social.
Yeah, social weighting.
Yeah,
Yeah, there it's official.
absolutely. Okay, well, we have 3 sessions which have naturally emerged from this process, which I've put in the after the voting section at the bottom here. And the first version, I've summed up as history, provenance, and security of live linked data. Second is immutable live data and following linked data. And the third is the use case around political group information system. Now, what we don't know is whether the folks who voted for those are all the same or it's nicely distributed across the group. But what this does now tell us is that you have 3 options as to which of those things you want to get involved in. If it turns out that one group is heavily oversubscribed, then we might need to ask you to go for your second choice in this list just to make it workable. But let's see how things play out.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Should we talk the use case first as a group? So we've got a use case to work with for the other 2 topics.
That's an interesting thing. I wonder whether this use case, though, is sufficiently large that would actually warrant an entire afternoon session.
Well, let's. Oh, I see. Sorry. Yes,
That's also an option, actually. But admittedly, that then doesn't throw out requirements in time for some of these other topics. Mind you, given the nature of the gathering that we've got, it's not going to be perfect. We're feeling our way. So I'm going to put that to the very thing. So what do we think about having the political group information system session as a longer one for this afternoon rather than a 45-minute one for this morning? If anybody's in favor of doing it in the afternoon rather than the morning, raise your hand now. It's 1, 2.
And we're not splitting up that.
For that one, we would still split up because there's still the hands-on technical session that Joop is going to be running.
So then we have to choose between those. I wasn't aware of that before.
Yeah, I'm sorry we've had to run trucks. But
But the other 2 will be plenary then?
not necessarily, actually. So what I envisaged for these other 2 here was actually split into 2 groups. One would stay in here and the other one would go down to my room downstairs.
I think it's a good idea, splitting up.
Yeah, otherwise we're not going to be able to make each other heard.
When it comes to George's suggestion, I actually kind of like it because we have a bit of a practical hook to talk about when we're in the other sessions, and explaining the use case is actually very short.
Okay.
But then depending on what you're doing in the other groups, you could sort of say, oh, you know, from the practical thingy, let's try and do this with this abstract now. So then you have like a default Bob and Alice or whatever example. You could be.
Can I make a proposition? How about you do a short talk to explain the use case so that it's in our top of mind? And then we do the other two sessions to get some information about the security aspect and about following link data and immutability. And then we do the use case in the afternoon so that we can get some practical stuff going, see where we can lead with that information.
All right, so if I understand what you're suggesting correctly, if Jos shares the overall concept with these slides on the group political information system to help get our thinking going to apply that to some of the other topics that we're going to discuss because it anchors it in the real world. And then we can do in the afternoon in much more depth the political group information system as a follow-on. I'm happy with that suggestion. So it actually will work in quite well with the time we have available too. So if everybody's in agreement, then we'll have Jos just present briefly the slides that you didn't have a chance to continue with, and then we will divide into our groups until lunchtime, and then reconvene after lunch to go to one of the three sessions that we spoke about earlier. Is that proposition clear and agreeable to everyone?
Yeah, that's kind of good.
Okay.